No matter what type of tomatoes you're growing, they're going to need some type of support. Today we're going to walk you through 5 different trellising options. Hey everybody, Jerry with Lonely Pines Farm. Today we're going to talk about trellising your tomatoes. So like we mentioned earlier, no matter what type you are growing, determinate, indeterminate, whether it is a patio or out in your field, you're going to need to support this tomato one way or the other. They can get very, very large. So the number one thing that you need to know, in my opinion, about pretty much all vegetables that you grow is their job is not to supply you with food, but it's to mature, fruit, and go to seed so that it can reproduce itself for the next year. So if you leave your tomato to its own devices, it's actually a vine. It's going to crawl all over the ground. It's going to fruit there. Most of your fruits are going to get eaten by slugs or snails or birds or something, and it's just not going to perform very well at all. So you really do want to offer it some sort of support, okay? So today we're going to talk about 5 different ways of trellising your tomatoes. You don't have to spend a lot of money. They don't have to be super fancy. If you go on Google or many of the websites out there, you can find all sorts of trellises that I'm sure somebody spent good money on, and they look fantastic. But today we're going to show you some easier, cheaper, simpler methods that anybody can do. All right, so our first option, and possibly the most common, is the common tomato cage that's sold at your local box store, hardware store, any farm supply. You can get them for just a couple of bucks, okay? These things have been around forever. They do work, and I know a lot of people that use them. However, in my opinion, they're only good for determinate tomatoes. Determinate tomatoes are the type that are going to grow and fruit and then die off, where an indeterminate tomato is going to grow and fruit and keep growing and keep fruiting until either a disease or frost takes it in the fall. So to that end, this little cage is not big enough for an indeterminate tomato. Personally, in my opinion, they work fantastic on good bell peppers. So that one will go there. They also make bigger versions, but again, by the time you have the legs down into the ground and you're supporting your tomato, you only have 3 feet, maybe 4 feet. Many tomatoes will grow over 6 feet tall, especially the indeterminate variety. But they do work, they are inexpensive, and they're readily available. So the second type of support we'd like to talk about today is just a basic wooden stake. This is just a simple 1x2 bought at the big box lumber store. They come in a pack of 16, or you can buy them individually. They're only $1 or $2 a piece. They're 8 feet long. And I've got approximately 1.5 feet of it buried down in the ground. And all I'll do is tie this tomato to it periodically as it grows. So pros of this would be they're really cheap. They're really easy to use. You just need the stake. I mean, I guess you might need a 2-step if you're not very tall to hammer that down there. I had Laura do ours. And they're really easy, you know. I mean, it's just a simple stake that you're putting into the ground. But a couple of the negatives for them, they're not very pretty. And in solo by themselves, they do tend to move around quite a bit in the wind. I'll probably end up putting a piece of bracing across this or something to support them when the tomatoes get bigger. Now, when you refer to stakes for tomatoes, they don't have to be boring 1x2 pieces cut straight from the mill. We've got some other options down here. Let's go take a look. So this tripod trellis is just built out of branches that we've scavenged from the property. It's completely free. In fact, I even found some old twine wrapped up in one of the trees and used that to tie it up. I buried them about 1 foot down in the ground to give them extra stability. Currently, we're going to train some pole beams to go up on, but you could do tomatoes on this as well. And the birds love it, and it's super cool. Another potential option for you is bamboo. Lots of people giving away bamboo for free on Craigslist or on the Facebook market page, your neighbors, whatever. Any stick pretty much will work, and you can make some pretty cool stuff out of it. I don't think this is going to stand up to the heavy winds of the peninsula here. Once these tomatoes start going, these are Cordova sauce tomatoes. They're going to get quite large and very heavy. So we're probably going to end up putting a T-post down here. You could use a T-post. Tie your tomato directly to a T-post even. whatever you've got on hand, it'll work. It doesn't have to be too fancy, you guys, and it certainly doesn't have to cost a ton of money. Option number 3, build yourself a beautiful arbor out of a piece of cattle panel. Some people know it as hog wire. So this is just an 8-foot tall piece of cattle panel. It's 16 foot long, and as you can see, we got both ends wrapped around the T-posts, snaked down the sides, bent it over, did the same thing here, snaked it down to the bottom. We've let it sit there for a couple of weeks now while it's been raining. Everything's buried in there nicely. You could run tomatoes on this. You could run beans on it, melons on it, cucumbers on it, whatever you want, you guys. It works fantastic. Another great way of using hog panel, you don't have to do an arch. You can just run it straight, and then you can plant your tomatoes every 2 feet along it, and you can tie them all off to it. Another way of using hog panel, cut off your section about 4 feet long, wrap it into a circle and make a tube. Now you put that over your tomato, you've made your own homemade cage, which is way better than the ones we show you to start with, and you can anchor that to the ground with a T-post. Hog panel, very versatile stuff. But it can be expensive, especially for big pieces like this. And if you're doing it by yourself, it can be unwieldy as well, especially 16-foot long pieces. But they are nearly indestructible. All right, so number 4, the armpit of the farm. Got some raspberries that we were gifted, we planted, and we just got busy and we haven't been able to take care of them at all. But this will give you an idea of the Florida weave. So what the Florida weave is you have a post on one side, post on the other, and then you take your string and you go around the one side of the post and then switch sides as you go to the next post. So in essence, if this were a post, this string would flip to the other side of the post and continue on. So what that does, as you can tell, is pinches the tomatoes in between. And your tomatoes, as they grow, you just put on another layer of string, change sides, it pinches it in tight, and it holds it up. Works pretty well. So the pro to this method is that you just have the post down there and a post down here, and you run your string down one side and then back down the other, and the tomatoes are in between. The next post, you switch sides and go to the other side. I'm a little hesitant with the support for that. 20 pounds of heirloom tomatoes on a vine, I'm not sure if that would hold or not, but it's a very popular method, so it must work, right? I'd like to hear from you guys if you use that method. So our final option, and personally my favorite, is a vertical string trellis. I love these things. They are so simple. All you need to do is put in a couple of posts and something across that's rigid enough to be able to support a tomato. We've just used a piece of pipe that I found on a job, and then attach a solid piece of string to the top. Then all you have to do is set your tomatoes and drop a string down to it. You tie it off to the tomato and let the tomato climb up it. It's as simple as it gets, you guys. So as this tomato grows, all you do is simply move it around the string. You want to do it kind of carefully so you don't break a branch, but you just slowly twist it around. And you're ready to go again. Be careful for your tomatoes. You don't want to knock off your blossoms. And it's good to go. They also make some pretty fancy little clips nowadays, and you can just take this little piece here and you can wrap it around your string and close it, and it won't go anywhere. So if you trellis your tomato up this string, you just put one of these clips on, you clip it to the string, and you clip this around your stem of your plant below a leaf, and it supports all the weight for you. And you only need a couple of them all the way up. Well, I guess as far as cons are concerned with this particular application, I guess it would be probably setting the first couple of posts to be able to run this. But it really only takes a couple of minutes to dig a hole with a post hole digger and drop the post in and tamp the dirt back around. The pros of this one are amazing. It's super cheap. I'm using all found materials. String is very cheap. You can buy these little clips by the thousands for a few bucks off of Amazon or whatever. Super easy to access your plants, to be able to take care of them, to harvest. And they stand up fantastically to the wind. It's just a piece of string. I mean, how much resistance can it put up, right? Right, so there are the top 5 ways that we do it on our farm. We'd really like to hear back from you guys on what you guys like to do, what's been successful for you. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask. Put them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, you guys. You can find us on all the social media outlets. Oh, and we've recently been asked about the coop, so stay tuned for a video on that. And if you guys would like to see a certain type of video or have questions you want answered, maybe we can do a video on it. Say something in the comments down below. We read them all, you guys. Happy growing.